Washington School Board to order. First item is roll call by the clerk.
Benish here, Drushmeyer.
Here.
Drury.
Here.
Esser.
Here.
Mitchell.
Here.
Schmidt. Here. Jaeger.
You guys can join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is posting of the meeting given to the public pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1984. Second. Motion by Esser and a second by Mitchell. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is approval of the minutes from July 11th that are posted there for you. I believe they're actually July 14th minutes, but it's on the minutes.
I'll second that motion.
A motion by Esser and a second by Schmidt to approve the regular minutes from July 14th meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is approval of current expenses and vouchers payable. Bryce, do you have anything on that list that we should take a look at?
Well, just to point out some of the larger ones, there's one to CISA 5, it's in the second page. It's a $3,000, $3,109, that's for our Infinite Campus software, student software. And then the other one that's larger is the refinishing of the gym floors, $4,089, and that's for both floors, and that's pretty good value. Over the years, schools have paid more than $2,000 per floor, so that's good. Otherwise, everything is monthly stuff that we pretty routine.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers.
I'll second.
Motion by Schmidt and a second by Benish to approve the current expenses and vouchers payable. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is the public meeting portion, and just as we start that, I just wanted to go over a couple things. Not sure how to do this. I got paper that I want to read, but I want to see you guys too, so I can't do both at the same time. Thanks for your attendance and participation at our school board meeting tonight. Before we begin, or as we started already, I'd like to just lay out some ground rules by how we run our meetings. It's a regular meeting of our school board. During the majority of the meeting, the public's not allowed to interact or discuss with the board as we're going through the majority of the items, so we have time specifically set aside to hear from the public, which is the public comment period that we're gonna go in. Am I safe in here, right?
So far. That changes a
let you know. If we do have to, just while we're stopped here, we're gonna go right outside these doors here and we're gonna line up along the lockers right here. If we have to do a tornado,
Heads are.
head down and chill with me for 5-6 hours.
It looks like it is south of us. It is a tornado warning, but it's closer to Mineral Point.
Gotcha.
All right. So to speak at the meeting, we'll recognize you. Please state your name and address or town or whatever. You'll be given approximately 3 minutes to provide input, one person at a time. Whoever's speaking, let's give them the courtesy of stating their views without interruption. I'd like to hear from everybody. I don't think time is going to be a real issue here, so I think we're good that way. Board members can ask clarifying questions of the public if they would like, but it's not appropriate to engage in debate or argue with guests or other board members on their perspective. We all have different opinions on this. Members of the board and public alike are expected to treat fellow participants with respect. Inappropriate, disrespectful behavior or comments. You guys know this deal. Please keep the comments on a subject and not personally directed at other people. I don't think we're going to have any trouble with that, so my goal tonight is to have a civil discussion and not be here all night. So, one item that I do want you guys to think about addressing during your comments that would help the board, if you're here to speak about masks, is there any circumstance that would warrant kind of changing your position? So if you are anti-mask and don't want them in our schools, is that a never, or is there a point where cases are bad that you think it may be appropriate, and vice versa? If you want us to go to mask, is there a point where things are good to the point where it's okay to not have them? So that's one of the things that we're just going to discuss later and would be helpful for input on that. And then the only other thing I have is I would like to modify our agenda if the other board members are okay, just to move the school reopening policy to beginning a new business, just to move it up a little bit earlier in the agenda. I think that is it. So we're going to start the public comment period. And Katrina, did you want to go first?
Sure, if Brad's okay with that.
Brad's listening in
Okay,
on his
perfect.
computer, so.
Okay, yep. So I'm here, obviously as a school board member, but I'm also here as a parent and a community member. And I have a video that I just wanted to share, kind of about how I feel, or that I agree with this particular perspective. So, Brad, whenever you're ready.
Be able to hear it if you can't see it.
From the Indiana State Board of Health and the CDC.
Be able to hear it
Actually
if you
don't
can't
bother
see
to
it.
read science before they do this. I'm actually a functional family medicine physician. That means I am specially trained in immunology and inflammation regulation. And everything being recommended by the CDC and the State Board of Health is actually contrary to all the rules of the CDC.
Be able to hear it if
So
you
the things
can't
you
see
should
it.
know about coronavirus and all other respiratory
I'm actually a
viruses,
functional
they are
family
spread by
medicine
aerosol
physician.
particles,
That means
which are
I am
small enough to
specially
go through
trained
every
in
mask
immunology
by
and
way of
inflammation
literature
regulation.
regulation. All of that is in a flash
everything
drive
being
being
recommended
recommended
by
has
the
been given to the
Got
CDC.
feedback here.
As a matter of fact, it quotes at least 3 studies sponsored by the NIH to that exact fact, even though the CDC and the NIH have chosen to ignore the very science that they paid to have done. That is why you keep struggling with this, is because you cannot make these viruses go away. The natural history of all respiratory viruses is that they circulate all year long, waiting for the immune system to get sick through the winter or become deranged, as has happened recently with these vaccines, and then they cause symptomatic disease. Because they cannot be filtered out, and they have animal reservoirs, and this is a very important point, no one can make this virus go away. The CDC has managed to convince everybody that we can handle this like we did smallpox, where we could make a virus go away. Smallpox had no animal reservoirs. The only thing it learned to infect was humans. That's why we were able to make that virus go away. That will not happen with this any more than it will with influenza, the common cold, respiratory syncytial virus, adenoviral respiratory syndromes, or anything else that has animal reservoirs. So the reason you can't do this is because you're trying to do something which has already been tried and can't be done. Equally important is that vaccination changes none of this, especially with this vaccine. And I would hope this board would start asking itself, before it considers taking the advice of the CDC, the NIH, and the State Board of Health, why we are doing things about this that we didn't do for the common cold, influenza, or respiratory syncytial virus. And then ask yourself, why is a vaccine that is supposedly so effective having a breakout in the middle of the summer when respiratory viral syndromes don't do that? And to help you understand that, you need to know the condition that is called antibody-mediated viral enhancement. That is a condition done when vaccines work wrong, as they did in every coronavirus study done in animals on coronaviruses after the SARS outbreak, and done in respiratory syncytial virus, where a vaccine used in a vulnerable individual done the wrong way, which cannot be done right for a respiratory virus which has a very low pathogenicity rate, causes the immune system to actually fight the virus wrong and let the virus become worse than it would with native infection. And that is why you are seeing an outbreak right now. And in fact, in that flash drive you're going to have coming to you and in the emails with 6 Extra will be a study showing that 75% of people who had COVID-19 positive symptom cases in Barnstable, Massachusetts outbreak were fully vaccinated. Therefore, there is no reason for treating any person vaccinated any differently than any person unvaccinated. You should also know that no vaccine, even the ones I support and would give to my
Oh, that's nice.
Do you want to just summarize what your thoughts are and finish quickly in 30 seconds?
He was just gonna say in that last part there that, you know, he would give all the other he approves other vaccinations, and that unfortunately the one in question, it's not gonna do anything for anyone at this point. So, I stand for not having masks in school. That's where I stand. So that's all I wanted to share.
Okay. Thanks, Katrina. Sorry that didn't quite go.
Yeah, that did not go quite as planned, but that's all right.
I think most of us have seen it.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
It's out there.
Do you want to
Yeah.
at least let them know how they can find it?
Oh, yeah, it's on the Mount Vernon, School Board website page for, Indiana.
Who wants to go next?
I will. I can't promise that I'm gonna be under 3 minutes, but I'll do my best. Good evening, my name is Nicole Day. Ben Beaumont and I have a child here who's gonna be a first grader this year, and we also have a fifth grader new this year that we open enrolled to, and one on the way, so you guys are probably gonna have to deal with the Beaumont crew for a while. We open enrolled from Iowa Grant last year, and it was the best decisions as parents we feel that we could have made. We've been really impressed with Highland. However, I'm here tonight to express my disappointment in the new CDC recommendations surrounding masks and that it's now back up for discussion within our school. Our family would like to strongly oppose any mask mandate now or in the future for our children at Highland. This board has a responsibility to keep our children safe. But when you think of safety in COVID-19, you automatically think of children's physical well-being. But it's more than that. It's about protecting their physical health, and it's about protecting their mental health. In some of our conversations this week with board members, it was mentioned that the school nurse was a source of information and that her recommendation could carry a lot of strength in the board's current and future recommendations on masks. But I'd like to ask the board tonight, is the school child psychologist or counselor giving you their recommendations as well? And if not, why? The other night I mentioned to my 6-year-old we might have to mask up again in school. One of the toughest, bravest little boys I know instantly broke into tears. "No, Mama," he said. "It makes my ears hurt and it smells so bad." We didn't wear it all summer and we were fine. Now, did the discomfort cause on his ears for a little bit? Probably. Was it that bad? Probably not. Did he get a new mask every day and it was fresh and clean? Yes. So was it really that smelly? Probably not. But that's not really the point. The point is my 6-year-old's tears were because he not only knows it's a nuisance, but more importantly, he's intelligent enough to know it's an unnecessary nuisance. In my opinion, it is nothing short of psychological child abuse at this point. Now let's talk about how effective these masks are. Today I stopped at Walmart and I bought 2 Walmart kid masks and 1 from Walgreens. On all 3 of these masks, all 3 of them, they specifically give some kind of disclosure that states, This should not be used where infection risk level through inhalation is high. It does not provide a liquid barrier protection, nor does it offer antiviral reduction or protection. It does not offer respiratory protection or particulate filtration and should not be used in high-risk aerosol procedures. Discontinue if child exhibits discomfort, not intended for uses for infection prevention or reduction or related uses. Does not substitute for N95, is not FDA approved, should not be used for anyone with a difficulty breathing. Doesn't sound life-saving to me. Sounds like an ineffective piece of cloth on our children's faces that serve absolutely no purpose. We have played along with the CDC's games now for 1.5 years. On May 13th this year, the CDC said fully vaccinated did not have to wear masks. On July 9th of this year, the CDC said those who were fully vaxxed over 12 years old didn't have to wear masks in school. Now here we are yet again with them saying something completely different. They keep changing it. Why? Because it's a virus. It's going to act like a virus. It's going to keep changing and keep developing for a long time. But our children cannot be the CDC's or our local health department's guinea pigs while they figure it out. Let's talk about why the CDC has suddenly changed their recommendations in the last 30 days. Numerous recordings by the local Grant and Iowa County health departments claim that there is a rapid spike in COVID-19 Delta variant. Well, I'm not sure if the board is aware of this, but you know that they're not even testing it in our area. Yesterday, I specifically asked a Grant County Health Department member, is the genomic sequencing being performed on everyone that's testing positive in our area currently? Their response was, few people in Grant County are being tested and even fewer are being sent in.
Nicole, you're at 4.5 minutes, and I'm gonna let you wrap it up.
Okay,
Just wanna
sorry.
let you know.
Sorry.
You're fine.
They're not even testing for the Delta variant. All this commotion, and in our area currently, they're not testing for it. On August 6th, Iowa County Health Department stated that we're high transmission. That means 32 tested positive, 0.001% of the Iowa County population. 32 people can go into Walgreens tomorrow without a recommendation from a doctor or any symptoms and get a test just like that. A man I know in this community is being tested 3 times a week because he won't take the vaccine. You can get a positive pretty quick if you really want one. 32 goes really fast. And not any of those 32 do they tell us how many are children, how many have symptoms. We were asked to trust science. We did for a year. And at the peak of it, where are the dying children around here? Where were the dying children this summer when they were playing ball? Maskless. Summer school, maskless. Where are the sick kids? I also want to ask you, the administration that is giving us these proclamations, don't forget that in March in 2021, they were the same administration that okayed 321 immigrants coming across the border every single day. And to wrap up, I think more importantly, our country is divided right now. And someone sent me this quote and I think it's useful. What is right for you might not be right for me. What is right for me may not be right for you. But what is not right for either of us is being stripped of the freedom to choose what is right for ourselves. Our country is divided, and we do have to shield our children from that division the best we can. But how we treat our children is a type of culture we're creating for them. They are watching you, and they are watching us. And I hope that this board will show them here today that Highland Communities, at Highland Community Schools, freedom will not be one of the things we take away from our students or your watch. Thanks.
Thanks, Nicole. Who's next? Brad.
Hi, my name is Brad Tucker, and I'm here representing myself and my wife who couldn't be here tonight. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, a father of 4 girls, and have been employed here at the Highland School District for 17 years. I joined the Marines to fight for people who were unable to do so, and tonight I'm here to stand up for my children and other kids of this district. Over the past 1.5 years, I have watched a lot of things happen that don't align with our rights, and also have watched common sense go out the window. Before this pandemic, I never found it necessary to voice my opinion at a school board meeting, but this is the second time I've had to do so since it started. Not to say that I always agree with every decision made, but I feel this is so much more important. The The first thing I would like to talk about is the misinformation we have been given during this pandemic. Since the beginning, we have been misinformed on the number of deaths from COVID and the number of positive cases. I have talked with people firsthand, and I'm sure most of you have also heard stories about people dying from cancer, car wrecks, natural causes, or other means, and then being marked as a COVID death. We heard about people being in line to get tested, ended up leaving, never to be tested, and then getting a call to say that they tested positive. So how can we trust the data that is reported? We can't. If you look up the total deaths in the past 3 years, or in the US over the past 3 years, you won't see a huge jump this past year, because 200,000 to 300,000 people die from the flu every year. But it seems that data doesn't matter anymore. I'm not saying this strain isn't dangerous. Every strain of flu is dangerous, just like other illnesses are dangerous. The only one that gets talked about is COVID, even though the survival rate is higher than 99%. The people behind most of this information is the CDC, and we are supposed to trust them? I don't. Do you know that neither the CDC or the World Health Organization have ever done a study on the effectiveness of masks? The cloth masks that people wear in the medical field, such as nurses and doctors, are to protect them from liquid splatter when performing procedures. Cloth masks don't protect us from airborne molecules. Tons of research have been done that shows that COVID molecules are smaller than what cloth masks can protect. A former member of the president's team recently came out and said cloth masks provide little to no protection. And if people want to wear a mask, they should be wearing an N95 mask. Another study was done in Germany about the amount of CO2 students breathe back in, and study found that, breathe back in. And that study found students breathe in 3 to 6 times the recommended amount. And that only took 3 minutes to reach this level. No research can be done on what effects this will have on children because it is so recent. Although students and adults do have side effects from wearing masks, headaches and fatigue, to mention a couple. I can show you the research I have found to back this up if you'd like me to. One specific doctor in the media started off by saying, masks don't protect us. It's all for show, on more than one occasion, and then flip-flop to say everyone should be wearing a mask, and doing so with no proven data why we should do this. Also, we don't want to say any of this has to do with politics, but it's pretty hard to say it doesn't. When that same doctor in this last week criticizes people for attending a Sturgis bike rally, doesn't say a word about a birthday party of over 600 people attending with no social distancing or mask wearing. I could go on with many other examples of what people are allowed to do with no restrictions and what people are allowed to do, or not allowed to do, sorry. What did masks do for us last year to keep our students in school? If a student was found to be within close proximity to another student who was sent home, that student was also sent home. Why were we wearing masks in the first place if they didn't protect us from being sent home? That procedure didn't seem very practical to me. I thought the mask was supposed to protect us. One of the things I do at school is lunch supervision. During this time, I got to see students take off their masks. The inside of primary grade students' masks were absolutely disgusting. I felt so sorry for them. I can't imagine how much bacteria was in those. I witnessed a kindergarten student throw up in her mask during lunch. That was disheartening. I saw students wearing masks that I could see their mouths through. I saw students wear the same mask day after day. All the plexiglass that was around school was just for show. It didn't do any good in protecting our students. One superintendent in Iowa said having the kids wear masks is like a babysitting job. You tell them to pull up their mask, and once they walk away, the mask is pulled down.
You're at 4.5 minutes. I'm just gonna ask you to wrap it up.
All right. So this is true here too, and I'm not putting blame at anyone. So my next point is about following science and why there's other states that are banning mask mandates. And so what point of science do we get to back, or do we get to listen to, and what gets pushed under the rug? If somebody doesn't agree with this mass media, it gets pushed on the rug or censored by our tech companies that have politic money coming to them. So I'll go down to the end and wrap this up. Let's see. Parents all over the nation are going to school boards and telling them the same thing. It is our choice how we protect our children. I'm the primary caretaker of my children and also my wife, and I understand the risk my children are under every day. That's why it should be my choice how I protect my children. If masks work and you feel like your child is better protected, have your child wearing a mask because that is your right as a parent and a citizen of a free country. I know that we all care about the well-being of our children and the students of our community. I mean, no disrespect to anyone here tonight, but the job of the school board and the administration of this school is to educate my child and other children of the community, not make medical choices for them. That's the parent's job or our family doctor's job. I would like the board to make the decision on whether masks are to be worn in the hands of parents and not administration. I did a search through our board policies and nowhere in there did it say anything about CDC recommendations. Of course, we have to follow the laws, but the last time I checked, recommendations aren't laws. And then I actually was gonna have her same quote. So.
All right, Brad, we're gonna,
I'm done.
okay, yeah,
So I
I'm
just
not
want-
trying to,
I know.
once I give somebody a couple extra minutes, then I gotta get it to everybody, and,
I'm done. So I'd just like to
Okay.
thank you and thank you for your time and guidance.
no, I appreciate your comments and everybody being here, so I'm just gonna keep moving along here.
Bonnie Murphy, I live out on Chinook Road, just outside of town here. I've had my kids in school here forever. Sorry, I feel a little emotional. I'm really concerned about what we're teaching our kids with these masks. I'm really concerned that we're teaching our kids that they need to fear their friends, their teachers, their neighbors, their family members that don't live with them. I can't imagine that this is a good message to send to our kids. It's not the kind of society I want to live in. It's not what I want my kids to believe. I am opposed to masks all the time. I don't see any value in them. I agree with the research Brad and Nicole both presented, and Katrina. And I don't see a situation where I would ever be okay with my child being masked. I obviously would never make that choice for somebody else's child. That's all I have.
All right, I'm Whitney Snyder from Highland here. I have two kiddos in elementary, one coming up next year, and I also am opposed to mask wearing. I kind of feel like it might have muted my middle child just a little bit. He's kind of quiet anyways. I feel like he's just coming around and school is starting here, and I want him to be open. I want him to be able to go talk to his friends, talk to his teacher, without being like, I have something on my face, I can't talk to anybody. So like if he gets home, it's the same thing. My kids get in the car and they're wearing the masks home. Get your mask off. Like, you're out of school, you don't need to be wearing that right now. I kept up with, washing them and whatnot, but there were days where my kid came home and the inside of his mask looked absolutely disgusting. Like, you can't tell me that is clean, having breathed that in all day, every day. I don't have a whole lot more to say. I just hope that this can be up to parent discretion.
Thank you.
My name is Beth Baumkamp. I live out on County Road I, of course, Montfort. I also have two kids in elementary school going into third and first. And I just these are all on the same page as everyone that was mentioned. Specifically, I definitely would love to look more into the mental health aspect of how our kids are reacting to this, because my kids had a similar response when I said we might have to wear masks, because they were so excited for summer school that they did not have to, and everything went very well. Like Bonnie mentioned, I do not think in any situation I would want my kids to have a mask unless there is a ginormous outbreak of at least 50% of the school or some crazy reason that there would be an outbreak. I don't feel like there's ever been a situation that has warranted masks around in this area yet. But like Brad mentioned, there's so many different points that I feel like that have been brought up that are spot on, and mental health is definitely one of the top ones, because I'm seeing more and more research coming out that is showing the side effects from kids wearing these masks long-term is going to be way worse than this 99.9% survival rate on it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Sean Waltz. I got a daughter. She'll be in kindergarten this year. She went here in 4K last year. I did notice, I would like to say I did notice, previously, my previous relationship, I did have my girlfriend at Son Mason. I've experienced him in Miss Parker's classroom, his take on what happened that year. And Marley's was quite different. I think that was because of the masking and the situation in the classroom and how we're setting up the kids, they have to be distanced, And I feel like she didn't get fully what she should have gotten out of it. Some kids do better with that, some kids don't, shy kids, some kids are way more outgoing, be better in situations like that. I would like to see, no masks. I don't feel, obviously studies have shown that kids their age, where are all the sick kids? I've never seen a sick kid from that. Has there anybody been a kid dying from COVID-19? A 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old? That's my main point. I think we're kind of fighting it in a direction that doesn't need to be fought. There's other, avenues that need to be dealt with here with what we got going on. So that's about all I got.
All right.
Everybody else kind of came here with their guns loaded.
Well, that sounds good.
Hi, my name is Shannon Hermanson. I'm just coming back to the school district. I have a freshman and a 5th grader, and they kind of took everything I was going to say, but I kind of agree. I just honestly think masks should be optional. If you want your kid to wear them, by all means wear them. It doesn't offend me you want to have your kid wear them. My kids don't want to. My kids have played sports all summer. They've not been sick. There's not been an issue. If they do get sick with it, then that's something I as a parent will deal with that. But please let it be an optional thing. All I'm going to say.
All right.
I don't really have anything to say, I guess.
Yeah, we're just here for observation.
Yeah, well, I did want to say, I have concerns not just about masks, but about vaccines, about treating children
So,
differently.
Andrea, can we just have you state your name and then you can?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
That's
Andrea
fine.
Washa. I think I almost know everybody. Anyway, I'm not sure that I'm real comfortable about treating kids differently who are vaccinated or not vaccinated. I don't know how the school gets that information exactly. We prefer not to discuss our vaccination status, so that makes me uncomfortable on that level. But also there was an email about giving vaccines to the elementary kids here at the school. And my kids won't be here that day. If I decide to get them, we'll get them from our doctors.
Yeah.
That feels a little political to me. And I just wanted to put that out there because we're talking about masks a lot, but I also feel like we're dividing the kids over vaccines now. And that's not healthy for a lot of reasons.
I'm just trying to think if I want to address your situation or ask you just a clarifying question. Bryce, is there anything right now that we would be doing that would treat kids differently? The only thing I can think of that what may have come out is the quarantine rules, and that isn't necessarily a school policy, that's a county health issue, but I didn't know if you wanted to maybe address that. I don't.
Yeah, the quarantine and some things that have changed, there's a couple things that have changed just lately. But if kids aren't symptomatic, the quarantine rules from the county would be that you don't have to quarantine or get sent home if you have the vaccine. And the other thing is, just a few days ago, it changed the recommendation of if if you're within 3 feet, so you'd normally be a close contact if one person has symptoms or has a positive test, if both kids are wearing a mask, then they don't have to get sent home. And again, that's changed to that, but the rule all last year was masking didn't keep you from getting sent home at all for a close contact. So now that's different. It's I don't know how if it helps anything, but so there's advantages in those ways for not getting quarantined to have a vaccine or a mask, but that's the way those rules are.
That was the only thing I wanted to clarify is if there were ways we were treating them differently that way.
So that's coming not from the school, but from the county health department.
Right.
Recommendation or a mandate?
it's just a recommendation that we can follow, something like that, or, I mean.
Well, that is,
Things.
schools have to follow the quarantine rules. You just can't have kids come into school if they're testing positive. I mean, that's not gonna fly. So we would have to follow that, and the county would step in, and then, this would be, in our other conversation later on in the agenda, but there's other things to consider on some of this with activities and, band concerts, band contests and sports contests, that there's gotta be some common way that people are gonna treat their athletes, treat their kids. Otherwise, they won't play each other. Like that happened already in the spring where some schools were taking the mask mandate off and other schools in northern Wisconsin started canceling those games. So for some of those things, I don't know if you can be an outlier. You could be an outlier, but then the other schools may have some consequences unless this year is different.
And we can talk about that more later too. I just wanted to clarify your question there. So, anybody from the board here that wanted to use the public comment period here for their opinions?
I guess I'll make a couple comments, but, I thank you again to all of you for coming in. It's so great to see faces and get input, and I'd like to echo a lot of what they said. I guess as a board tonight, I hope that we can provide a realistic, outlook on all of this, from quarantining timelines, hopefully we don't get to a point where we have kids out of school for days and days because of quarantine. I think we need to be respectful of that and their education. And I think that, last year there was maybe some things that were handled that were a little dehumanizing in all of it. So I think that that goes along with the mental health aspect. I appreciate Beth talking about that because for me, that's a huge part of it as well. The mental health, these kids need to see teachers' faces. They need to see each other's faces. And I worry so much more about the bacteria that they are inhaling at the end of the day than any virus that they can contract at school. Send me all the snotty noses, build those immune systems. We have to rip off the Band-Aid and get these kids back in the dirt and out of the hand sanitizer. Mm-hmm. Again, the CO2 with masks, all the things those are just the things that I think about. And my kids had the same, I think it's maybe a district-wide sigh when the kids hear, oh, we might have to go back to masks. So, they were pretty excited to hear that we were going to talk about it tonight at the board meeting and hopefully, make some decisions in their favor. So, I guess that's my big thing, the mental health part of it. The other thing that goes along with the masks that is always, and I don't even have kids that are in high school sports yet, middle school sports. If I had kids that were playing sports, I would not let them play if they had to wear a mask that entire game. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how you watch them because that cannot be good for them. And it breaks my heart that there are no long-term studies on the effects that has on their lungs. In my head, I cannot for a minute believe that having them masked playing sports is more beneficial to them than potentially catching that virus. Kids in that age bracket have had the chance to get vaccinated. If you're worried about it, get a shot. If not, like everyone tonight has said, get on with life. And at the end of the day, I think that it's in this community's best interest to give parents the right to choose. So that's great. Yeah, thank you.
Can I just ask for clarification one more time? So what I heard you saying is that if they have the vaccine, it's assumed that they could not get a positive test. So there's no need for them to take any time off school or be tested. Is that right?
No, I didn't say it. So people that are vaccinated they have been getting the virus. So that's not I'm not assuming that, but that's just.
But if they're close contact, they don't have to be tested and take any time off school if they're vaccinated.
Unless they have symptoms. That's the current rules.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, I know what you're saying, but it's not.
I know what you mean. It's not in your hands. It just doesn't.
Yeah, because I know that people have been vaccinated and they've got the virus.
I guess I just want to add one more thing with the sports. And that's just as of currently, I know off the top of my head, Iowa Grant, basketball, Lancaster, all no masks. It's optional. There's more. And I think that's a good foot in the door towards resistance. So if we do it and others do it, we can start a path here. We send our kids to Highland. Other schools don't get to dictate what we do with our children.
All right, well, I just want to thank everybody for coming. We don't get visitors very often. I know some people are watching on YouTube live, or a lot of them just watch the recording, but appreciate you guys coming here and providing your input, and appreciate the civil discussion. I know this has been kind of a hot button issue around the country, and I dread all the videos that come out of the screaming parents and stuff, and appreciate you guys having that civil discussion, and hope you appreciate that we're trying to do what's best for the kids, and it's always a difficult situation. So appreciate your time. That's going to end the public comment period, and we're going to move on with the board meeting portion then. We will go through the announcements and reports, and then we'll do the reopening plan right after that. So Josh, do you want to go through your principal report first?
Sure. Obviously, this month is a crazy time of year. Everything's getting rolling again. So volleyball will start on Monday. So and we do host the Six Rivers Jamboree, we call it this year. So that'll be exciting for us. Football started. They're rolling. They'll start their scrimmage actually will be Friday night. So we'll travel to Dodgeville, where we will scrimmage against Dodgeville, Iowa Grant, and Belleville will also be there. So some things coming up. Next week already, it's professional days with the staff. On the 17th, we'll have our professional days, and the 18th. The 19th, then will be a work day, and that evening we'll have the meet and greet for parents where they can come in, drop their stuff off for their kids, get their lockers, all that good stuff. And then the 24th, we're gonna roll. So as far as everything's going on right now, obviously teachers are wandering back into the building, getting their classrooms ready. There's quite a bit of change, as we'll talk about more later, with some new hires and some changes in the district. So we'll get everybody set where they need to go, and we're gonna roll. So that's all I have tonight.
All right, thanks, Josh.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing Mike just said, and I'll talk about this later too. I guess there is an AD meeting. So the conference meeting, as Mr. Bird mentioned earlier, about some things about the conference. If we're going to be all on the same page and what we're all going to do. So the WAA is not coming out with anything definite yet, which is no surprise to anyone. But our ADs are going to start their meeting on Monday and just have a discussion. There'll be nothing that's voted on, but we'll just get a feel of where every school in our conference is at. And if there's schools that are uncomfortable, with decisions of other schools, at least they'll know where everyone's at, and we can go from there. Hopefully, knock on wood, we can all get on the same page and move forward. So, any questions for me? All right, thanks.
All right, thanks, Josh. Bryce, you're up for the district administrator report.
Mine will be brief also. We had, most of my stuff will be later on in the meeting, but we did find out finally what our ESSER 3 funding will be, and this is money from the government to kind of offset the effects of COVID and the pandemic. So we got $40,000 for CARES, that was the minimum. We have $101,000 that is set aside for us for ESSER 2 funding. And finally, we found $228,000 would be our amount for ESSER 3. Highland is one of the lower, it's based on the number of kids and then your poverty level and some other things like that. So a lot of other schools have a lot more money. This money some of this can carry on into budget year 2024. So the idea is to use it as needed, and it's for things like catching kids up, they call it for learning loss. It's also for anything that would help make your school, better as far as HVAC, air quality, sanitation, those types of things. So that we do know that we have $228,000 in ESSER 3, and then there's another formula, it might be a little bit of money coming, which will benefit us because we were virtual most of the year. So it's gonna take the number of days, the percentage of time we were virtual, and that's gonna factor in. So I think, I don't know exactly if we're virtual 20 or 30 days, but we'll go back through all that. But almost the whole year we're face to face. So that's gonna be to our benefit. And then if you go to grant, we got $37,000 coming for a transition readiness grant. $25,000 will go toward a van with a wheelchair lift to take handicapped students, to expose them to different things for careers. And we need to wait until the end of August until they can tell us that it's fully appropriated, that we will actually, we got the award, but will there be money backing it up? And then if there is, we'll start looking at, that will cover the complete van. But where we'll save the district some money is if we don't have to contract with a bus company for that, and we can have an aide or somebody drive the van and transport the students. So that's good, good for us that we got that. And if we just could get some money in some other areas, it'd be better. That's all I have for my request.
Any questions from Bryce? Otherwise, we'll move on to the school reopening plan, and then I just wanted to let people know how we've been handling this. Typically, the issues around the school opening and how we're doing masks and stuff has been administration has been making those decisions, and monthly we come back to the board meeting, review what their plan is, and kind of build consensus from the board on what they're doing. Our problem with voting on stuff is things change so often. I know we had a long discussion last fall around Thanksgiving time about maybe taking a couple days off because of COVID, and after the meeting, it changed a couple days later just because of extra positive cases that came in. So we've been trying to leave it in their hands to some degree to be able to make decisions more timely than every month. And I guess that's all I wanted to mention. And Bryce, do you want to start with what the plan is currently?
I'll start out by saying that, a couple of what Mike said is that we work closely with the board, and I think it's a good way to do it. We discussed that we come to a consensus, but it's not voted on, and it's therefore they direct the administration. And sometimes, we agree on the big picture, and then it's up to the administration and some of our other staff, and we put the details together, and that would be probably similar tonight is what's going to happen. Right now, the mask protocol for Highland is not required, and that was going into summer school, and then in July, the board meeting for fall, since there were no issues in summer school that we know of, that hasn't changed. So tonight, since there are more cases in Iowa County, I think 32 is what's reported, and of course, the national, in the nation things, the more things are being reported for COVID. There is a problem with conflicting information, as all you guys have pointed out, a bunch of us have seen, and so some of it, I understand, can be explained away as things have changed, and why are some things changing as the year goes on, and why are some things different than they were before, is because we're at a different spot, we're at a different place. So there is conflicting information. It is hard to know what to follow, and so what's been presented is that the CDC, those guidelines may not be necessary, so we have to decide if that makes sense to follow that or stray from that, because it's a little different when I may do things different for my kids or even my own personal safety, but as this group, the 9 of us, we're responsible for our kids and everybody else's kids. So we want to make sure we're doing the right thing. And typically when we do that, if we're going to err, we want to err on the side of caution. And that's how snow days happen. And I can tell you from firsthand, there's a lot of times when school's called off that a lot of us can make it back and forth to school, but some people can't, and you don't dare set up a situation where somebody goes in the ditch, gets injured, you don't want to be that person. When it's talked about that, parents should be in charge of their child's safety, they should make the decisions. I agree with that to the point where if it doesn't involve any other kids, but in this situation, the question is whether airborne illness, airborne virus, if it's transported more by people not wearing masks, does that increase the risk for other people's kids? So, and I've heard the argument from people that, so I'm not gonna require my kid, I don't want my kid to wear a mask. If somebody's worried they can wear a mask, that will protect them. Protects them, if it does protect them to a point, but there is a chance that more stuff is put in the air, so we're thinking about that. Is it, if it's just your kid, or is it everybody, you contribute to putting more molecules or more aerosol particles into the air, that increases the risk. And what do we really know, what do we know that's true or not? What do we believe? And as school officials, it's really hard to go too far against, we have DPI guidelines, which is the Department of Health Services. I think they adopt those. We have CDC stuff, and we've seen all that. What I'm looking at recommending is a broad recommendation, and we'll have to work on details. Is to start the year, start without masks, but when we have cases where we have people in our building or our staff, it could be a volunteer coach or anybody that works with our kids, if they have a positive test, then I think we should look at requiring masking in that area, whether we do that district-wide or whether there's an elementary student that tests positive, we require a mask for elementary, since they're on that side of the building, they're separated by the gyms and the lunchroom, and keep the 6 through 12 with mask optional or mask recommended and not required. So I'm thinking about not doing, according to Grant, not doing